Alright, this is text set 4. There is no essential question to this. Our read aloud goal is to identify the author's reasons for writing 12 kinds of ice. Okay? We left off after the writer describes the locker room. Who remembers what the kids do there? So let's find out what that means. Flooding. After supper, when we were doing our homework and Mom was putting our youngest brother to bed, Dad would go out to flood the rink. He would spray water over the marks and ruts and holes that had appeared from a day of skating on Byron Gardens. But first, he would have a short skate of his own. He would do tricks for our little brother, who was watching with Mom at the upstairs window. We could hear them laughing harder and harder until we would leave our homework to join them at the window. We crowded close together to watch Dad, and when he was done, we knocked on the window for more. Flooding comes next. Let's find out what... Oh, I already read that part. Okay. These were some of Dad's tricks. Accidentally tripping near the edge of the rink and falling headfirst into a snowbank, then waggling his feet up in the air and emerging with his head covered with snow. Running or walking on his skates right off the rink as if nothing were wrong. Spraying water from the hose up into the air, taking off his cap and holding it under the spray, and pretending to drink the water from his cap. Dad loved flooding the rink. He loved the quiet night, the friendly stars, the cold. He wore huge, heavy gloves and a tattered coat with a fur-lined collar pulled up to his hat. When Dad flooded, he grasped the hose as an artist does his brush. He sprayed water over the rink as an artist applies paint to his canvas. He worked for a masterpiece of art, ice, until one night, there it was. Perfect ice. Dad had worked hard and it was done. A 100 by 50-foot surface of perfect ice. No holes, no bumps, no ruts, no scratches. And when Dad had his masterpiece of perfect ice, we knew it was time for a skating party. We had many skating parties at Byron Gardens, but the best one was when Dad would invite students from the nearby college where he worked. He would make a small bonfire near the rink for roasting marshmallows and warming cold hands. Mom would make a huge pot of cocoa and bowls of popcorn for everyone when they came in from skating. But what we liked best about these parties was that we could skate better than most of our guests. We loved to dodge in and out as some of the college students staggered on skates for the first time, or limped along on borrowed skates. When there was a little space between skaters, my sister and I would do a spinner to show off. We liked the flirting games of tag and the scary momentum of crack the whip. Music was piped out through a loudspeaker from an old record playing in the shed. John Philippe's salsa marchers, Strauss's waltzes, Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals. We loved skating parties, but there was something we loved even more. It was late night skate. After homework was done, after Dad had flooded, after lights were out in neighbors' houses, my sister and I would sometimes go out for a skate. Late night skates were more exciting than daytime skates. We were alone with our dreams. We would work on our figure eights. We would work on our jumps and spins. We would put on music, and we were skating before crowds in a great stadium. We would try out moves that we've seen figure skaters doing on television or in a picture in the newspaper. We were planning and practicing for some distant Olympics. We were also planning and practicing for... So look closely at this illustration. Point out some clues that tell you what the author and her sister were practicing for. What were they practicing for? Whoops. We were not planning for a thaw. Right in the middle of a stretch of perfect ice, we would often have a thaw. The rain and warm temperatures lasted 3 or 4 days, then it would turn cold again. Once every few years we had a thaw that turned so quickly cold again that a heavy crust of ice formed on top of the snow. When this happened, we would beg to stay home from school to skate on pasture ice. With pasture ice, our world became a skating rink. We skated out the door and across the front lawn. We zigzagged through the orchard around the sleeping apple trees. We climbed the fence and made wide circles in the sheep pasture before gliding down the hill in our neighbor's field. Once my sister's skate blade caught in a weak spot. She fell, knocked her wind out, and couldn't get up for several minutes. But this didn't stop us. We sailed over pasture ice all morning until the shiny crust weakened. We went back to the rink, then into our plans and practices for the ice show. The Bryan Gardens Ice Show was the event of the year. We planned it for the school vacation the third week of February. We called it Icicles, spelled differently each year according to who wrote up the program. Icicles had figure skating acts, clown acts, and a grand finale called Shower of Stars. We made costumes, we had programs and charged admissions. We even sold refreshments. Mothers and little brother and sisters came. Fathers took time off from work, and our grandparents even drove all the way from New York to see the ice show. They sat on elm stumps by the end of the rink or on boards from old college bleachers that were placed on top of the snowbanks. My sister and I were on the directors of the ice show, and we planned a part for everyone. There were pair skating acts and solos. There were clown acts. Those who did not want to skate could choose to do something else, handle the record player and the music, sell refreshments, take admissions, give out programs, or be the announcer. So, what do you think of the ice show? One of the highlights of the show was Dad's clown act. Every year he had some of the same old tricks, but every year he had a new one, something better and more ingenious than the year before. One year it was the pail trick. He had two pails on the ice, one with water, one without. He'd skate by the crowd, showing them the pail with water in it. He'd go back to the empty pail. He'd pretend that it was too heavy It too was heavy and full of water. Then he motioned toward the audience as if throwing water. Of course it was empty, but the crowd would duck and shriek. One year Dad skated around the ice with a lemon pie in his hand that Mom had made from the pie trick. He gestured to the crowd, asking if anyone would take a taste. Our grandfather from New York came close to have a better look. When he did Dad put the pie right in his face. When the ice show was over, we knew that the Bryan Gardens skating season was almost over too. The late February sun was warming the soil under the ice. Oozing yellow sun spots were beginning to form. Every day we skated on the smaller rinks. Soon dirt patches appeared, and Dad would be carefully counting ice. Dad had a rink calendar on which he marked an X for each day of skating on Bryan Gardens. Late in the season, when the rink was melting, he would have to decide whether the day could be counted as a skating day. We would have family discussions at supper time. Could Dad mark an X on the calendar today? Had there been enough ice to skate? What about just enough ice for a spin? What about a day when we could skate for only an hour after the sun came up before the ice was covered with puddles? We all had our say, but Dad made the final decision. The hardest counting decision Dad ever had to make was the year that Bryan Gardens had 99 days of skating. We worked very hard for the 100th day, but the sun had won. After that winter, everyone who knew about Bryan Gardens knew about the year of 99 days of skating. The very end of the season was called the time of the last ice. The last ice had grainy places that were like coarse sugar. Dad called this punk ice. It also had hollow spots where our skates would break through. We had to skate carefully. The ice was almost gone. Then suddenly it was gone. Lost mittens and stray pucks emerged from sunken snowbanks. A broken hockey stick appeared, a lost skate guard, mud. Whenever we looked out the kitchen window or went by on the school bus, we would say, "The rink looks sad, except for the rink boards." Bryan Gardens had completely disappeared. Yet there was one more ice. Dream ice. This ice came on our sleep. We never knew when it would come, but when it did, we would skate anywhere we wanted, down roads, in and out of yards, and over the tops of trees. We could do any jump we pleased without practicing, double axels over houses and splits over telephone wires. We did spins on chimney tops and spirals down slanting roofs. We lifted off our skates into the sky to land on the back edges of clouds. We never fell. We never got dizzy. We never got tired. Dream ice never melted. We could skate on it in the springtime when we were planting the first rows of peas in the gardens. We could skate on dream ice on hot summer evenings when we were watering the carrots and picking the beans. We could skate on it through the autumn when we were pulling up tangled pumpkin vines and tough corn stalks. We could skate on it until the first ice came again, a skim on the sheep pails, a skim skimmed so thin it broke when we touched it. So it begins again. Talk about dream ice. What is the writer telling us here?